My name is Nicholas Applen. According to the CDC, 3 million adults and 470,000 children have active epilepsy. That means that about 0.6% of children have epilepsy. The Cedar Rapids Community School District serves roughly 16,000 students, which means on average there are 96 students with epilepsy. I'm going to be talking about childhood epilepsy and specifically how it affects them physically and emotionally. I had my first seizure when I was 5 years old and was diagnosed with a brain condition called cortical dysplasia, which commonly causes epilepsy. Since then, I've had a lot of trouble controlling my seizures with not much success with medication. I ended up having 2 brain surgeries to try to help when I was 18, and luckily it has. I think that this topic is important for everyone to learn about because with the knowledge of how it affects children, you can be more understanding and help with the stigma that children with epilepsy have to go through. Children who suffer from epilepsy have to go through the physical side effects of the condition, but many also go through the emotional effects it can have on them, as well as seeing their family deal with the condition. First, we'll talk about the physical side effects. Children have to go through the physical side effects of having epilepsy, which vary widely depending on the type and severity of their condition. The pain and effects of having a seizure. I'm not going to quote a source on this point because I know exactly what the effects of a seizure are. Depending on the type of seizure, it can be very mild, like moving an arm or neck without any input. Or it can be unbelievably painful and scary, like pins and needles all over your body and not being able to breathe. Seizures can also make you tired, again depending on the severity. One of my neurologists said something that I personally can confirm, that sometimes it can feel like you just ran a marathon in 20 seconds. The side effects of the anticonvulsant medication is also a physical side effect. Epilepsy is a condition which, if not treated, will continue to cause seizures, and because brain surgery is very risky, doctors almost always start off giving medication to stop seizures from occurring, called anticonvulsants. I've taken many different types of anticonvulsant medication, and just about every one of them has drowsiness and fatigue as a common side effect. It definitely is better than having seizures, but it's something that a lot of people with epilepsy are forced to deal with constantly, like myself. Next, I'd like to talk about the emotional side effects that epilepsy can cause. Epilepsy commonly causes emotional side effects for the child who has it. This can be just as bad or worse as the physical side effects. It might slip your mind at first, but anxiety is a pretty obvious emotion when it comes to epilepsy. Seizures are pretty scary to watch. It's a reason why before modern medicine, people believed that people with epilepsy were somehow possessed. It's also a reason why epilepsy is so stigmatized, especially with children. They might be scared to play together for the fear of watching someone have a seizure. Imagine how scary it is for the child who is having the seizure. They might not know what is happening to them, or if they are dying or not. It is always important not to leave children alone if they are having a seizure. It helps to have someone there. They could easily be awake and conscious during a seizure. Children with epilepsy commonly have a fear of having a seizure, which makes sense. It could also be a fear specifically of having a seizure in public or in front of friends, again due to the stigma of epilepsy. Depression is also a very real emotion that can come with having epilepsy. According to a paper by Jackson and Turkington, the lifetime prevalence of depression in association with epilepsy can be as high as 55%. Because doctors are so focused on treating the person's epilepsy, sometimes depression symptoms can go unnoticed. And because of that, death by suicide is more common in people with epilepsy, 5% compared to 1.4% of the total population. It's important to remember that these things, when talking to people with epilepsy, especially children. Most people have an idea of the physical difficulties that children with epilepsy have to deal with, but many people don't think of the emotional effects that the condition can cause on those that have it. Lastly, let's talk about what family and friends have to go through. Family and friends of the child with epilepsy have to go through some of the same things that the child has to go through. First are the physical side effects. While the people around the child don't have to deal with having seizures, they need to know what to do when one happens. It's a myth that you should put something in the mouth of someone having a seizure to stop them from biting themselves. According to the Cleveland Clinic, quote, "Never put anything into a person's mouth if they are having a seizure. This could actually injure them. Roll the person on one side, keep him or her a safe distance from any nearby objects, and let the seizure run its course." Family and friends also should learn about what the child's seizures normally look like, and if they have a rescue medication used to stop the seizure. Next are the emotional side effects, which the family and friends can share with the child. Not only is it common for people to be scared of seizures, but it can also be sad to watch someone you care about have a seizure. You might talk to them when they are having it, calming them and yourself down. Some people with epilepsy need to spend years figuring out the best treatment for their condition, or even what is causing their seizures. This is a lot to deal with, and if the person with epilepsy is a child, it can be even more stressful for the parents. Epilepsy is a very complex condition affecting the brain. It can have many different characteristics, physically and emotionally. It is important to remember that when around someone with epilepsy, especially kids, I hope that you remember the things that I talked about, and you leave with more knowledge about what epilepsy is and how it affects those who have it, and what you can do to help the stigma around the condition.